Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. In this video, we'll discuss the second problem of biweekly contest 77. It's a medium level problem. The problem name is minimum average difference. So the problem says that we are given a zero index integer array num of length n, and then uh, we are also given definition of a couple of things. So it tells that what is the average difference. So the average difference of an index I is the absolute difference between the average of first I plus 1 elements and last n minus I minus 1 elements. And again, both the averages should be rounded down to nearest integer. We'll go into the details of the slide. Let's see some other points that are mentioned in the question. So we need to return. So once we find a value based on this, the logic that is mentioned in these two lines, we'll go into what is the logic. Once we are able to find a value, so we need to return the index with the minimum average difference. That means the value that we have found. We need to return the index having minimum value that we have found in this step. So if there are multiple such indices, return the smallest one. And the absolute difference of two numbers is the absolute value of their difference. Yeah, so obviously if like for example the difference out like if we do 3 minus 5, so the difference comes out to be minus 2, but the absolute value will be 2. We'll ignore the negative sign here. And the average of n elements is the sum of n elements divided by the number of elements. So yeah, that's the definition of average, and the average of zero elements is considered to be zero. So if we look into the example, so this is the array that we have. It's 2 5 3 9 5 3, and if we start from the first element, so it says that we need to find the absolute difference of first I plus 1 elements. So here the value for the first index, the value of I is 0. So that means I plus 1 elements, it means 1 element. So that means we need to first find the average of one element, that is 2. How many elements have we taken? So the total sum of first I plus 1 elements in this case is only 2, because we have taken just one element, divided by the number of elements that we have taken. Again, that is 1 in this case. And then we find the average of the remaining numbers. So these numbers. So it comes out to be 5 plus 3 plus 9 plus 5 plus 3 divided by total number of elements. So again, it will be 2 minus 5 if we go into the details. So the average comes for the first part comes out to be 2, the average for the second part comes out to be 5, and then the absolute difference is 3. If we come to the second step, now we are at index 1. So in this case, the sum will take two elements, and because we are iterating and we will take two elements, so sum of these two numbers will be 7, and the number of elements are 2. So it will be, you can see the details, 2 plus 5 divided by 2 minus then the number of remaining elements, means all the remaining elements. So it's 3 plus 9 plus 5 plus 3 divided by 4. So again it comes out to be 2. So we can see that these are the averages. And what is the minimum average in this case? So it is 0, and it is coming at index number 3. That means when we are taking the first four elements in the first half, so this here you can see we take first four elements with the average of this and the average of remaining elements. So it comes out to be 0. So all in all we need to do is that pick the first I elements or x number of elements, and in that step pick n minus x elements. Take out the average of both the parts and just take the diff. So in the second example, we have just one element. Obviously, there will be one possible value. The only sum that is possible is 0 divided by 1 minus 0. Now minus 0 because we don't have anything in second part, and it says that the average of 0 elements is considered to be 0. So again, the answer will be 0. That means 0th index. Uh, so it's an implementation based question, and we'll see what are the tricky cases. One of the tricky case here is that the length, not the tricky case, but the constraints that the length of the array is 10 to the power 5, and each value can go up to 10 raised to 5. So if we take out the sum of all the elements, so it can overflow from integer range. So we need to take long. So the first thing that I have done is that we can take sum of all the elements. So that is stored in variable total sum, and then we find the length of the array, and then we find the average of all the elements. So the average of all the elements comes out to be this total sum divided by n. So it's just the initial value that we have taken, considering that we are taking elements on elements, like we are the last step that is mentioned in the question, that you take I minus one element. So if you take all the elements, so that means the average in that case will be the total sum divided by n. So we have taken that as the initial value just for comparison. And the, now again for the index in that case will be n minus 1, we are, because we are taking all the elements in that case. And then we have taken a couple of variables again. What is the current sum and what is the remaining sum? We'll see what these value mean. So now we start traversing, and as we traverse, we add the current element in this variable, that is current sum. So because we need to consider uh, I plus one elements. So when we consider one element, the index will be 0, but the total number of elements will be 1. So that's why when we, in the first iteration, we see we add the ith number, that is the 0th number. The remaining sum will be, that means the sum of remaining elements will be the total sum minus current sum. Now all we need to do is we need to take out the difference of the averages. So you see here, the first half will have current sum divided by I plus 1, because for one element I will be 0, and the total number of elements, that means for ith index will be I plus 1. And for the second half it will be remaining sum minus divided by n minus I minus 1. So we get a value. We have taken it in current absolute diff. Now if the current difference is less than the minimum difference that we have seen till now, this is the value we initialized for min diff. If that is the case, then min diff value will be updated. Our answer will be this particular index. And also, if the current difference, if the diff is same, like if the diff is if the current diff that we are saying is equal to the minimum diff, then we take the minimum index. So earlier it was n minus 1, so it can be I. Now this step is necessary because we could have avoided this step, but this step is necessary because the first value, we have initialized the value uh, from the last element of the array. However, if we would have gone from left to right, so obviously the answer value, if that is updated, that will always have the minimum value of I. So but again, we do this comparison, and yeah, we return this answer. So again, sort of an implementation based question. The only thing that we needed to consider was the overflow case, and how can we do it in a single iteration. So yeah, the time complexity for this one will be big O of n. And yeah, space, we have not taken any extra space, we are just using some variables. So space complexity will be big O of 1. Yeah, that's it for the problem. And if you like if you like the solution, then please do support by giving a like and do subscribe to the channel. Thank you.